Thank you. Thank you so much, Mohammed, and thank you all for having me. As I mentioned previously, I'm going to share my screen. I do have a PowerPoint because some of the material that I wanted to show you involves some photos, and so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me, and this seems like a pretty informal group, so feel free to stop or put a message in the chat as I'm going through the presentation. It should be about 15 to 20 minutes, but anyway, I know that most of you that are on this Zoom looks like you all are from Texas. So you might have heard some talk in the news and by our lovely governor about Operation Lone Star. And so what is Operation Lone Star? But I wanted to kind of give an overview of what it is and what we're seeing. And as Mohammed mentioned, I'm Special Project Director for Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid. Our organization has been assigned to represent the majority of people that have been arrested under Operation Lone Star. And so when I initially started in this position in August, I honestly hadn't even heard of the operation. So it's a relatively new program. And I think when it first rolled out, nobody really knew kind of how it was going to look or what the extent of this operation was going to be. All we knew is that the governor had allocated back in August an additional $1.8 billion on top of an initial $1 billion. So we're talking about a $3 billion war chest that the governor has allocated, in his words, to address the crisis at the border and the invasion at the border. So essentially what Operation Lone Star is it's a program by the state of Texas that involves primarily prosecuting migrants who cross into Texas for criminal trespass. So these are state criminal trespass charges. And because they're alleged to have occurred in a disaster declaration zone, and I think we're up to close to 50 counties so far have signed on to the governor's disaster declaration, and not just border counties, by the way, but essentially this man-made disaster that Governor Abbott has deemed is really the invasion of illegal aliens. That's his disaster. So what we're seeing is they're arresting migrants who cross into Texas for state criminal trespass that have crossed onto or are alleged to have crossed onto private property. So it's Texas's crafty way of getting around the supremacy clause, which is if the federal government in the area of immigration law, the state is not allowed to enact laws or to implement immigration law because that's the federal government's job. And so in the same vein as the abortion law, where they're using private citizens to enforce state law, this is somewhat similar in the sense that they have co-opted landowners primarily on the border, but not always. So we're seeing it in different counties. Our cases primarily have been in Kinney County and Valverde County, which is, Valverde County is Del Rio. Kinney County is about 40 miles away from Del Rio. Most of our cases have been occurring there. And what we've seen Operation Lone Star to actually, how it's been progressing and how it's kind of progressed since July, August, which is when these arrests started, is it's created this kind of shadow de facto substandard criminal justice system just to prosecute migrants, okay? So we're talking about the creation of an entirely separate criminal justice system from literally the inception of an Operation Lone Star case to the conclusion and actually beyond. And I'll explain how that means. But this is a very, very deliberate attempt to kind of funnel migrants into the system. And so, as I had mentioned, Operation Lone Star is happening. It's actually spreading. And this was one of my concerns I had early on. I've been in kind of high-level talks with Department of Justice officials. And, one of my concerns initially about this program was that it was creating a blueprint for Republican counties in Texas to kind of have like a twofold strategy. One is there is I don't think anybody would disagree that this is a political stunt by Governor Abbott. I mean, even the people working on the inside. I mean, if you've read up on some of these interviews of DPS officers, and by the way, that's what's being used. The DPS officers are actually being used to arrest people on private property. Those property owners had to have previously signed a criminal trespass affidavit and authorized DPS to kind of set up, and they're now utilizing the Texas National Guard as well to set up on private properties and make arrests as migrants cross over or are purported to cross over. And we'll get to that in a second. But essentially, this kind of started out. So this is a letter that was written by one of the local county judges that we're dealing with. His name is Tully Shahan, and also by the county attorney of Kinney County, Brent Smith. And this type of rhetoric is what led to this kind of disaster zone declaration in Kinney County and beyond. And like I said, what we're seeing is it's kind of started in those two counties, it's spreading. And the concern is it's spreading to Republican counties for political reasons. And it's also creating a blueprint for other Republican states to try to enforce immigration policy. And again, it's just, it offers like this very convenient political kind of soundbite. And it's there is some very hateful rhetoric that has gone hand in hand with this. As you can see, I mean, this is what this judge wrote back in April, right before the disaster declaration, right before they started these prosecutions, talking about invasion, talking about illegal aliens, talking about, the rhetoric that we see these people that are in public office use is really just astounding. And so what we've seen is, again, let's see, the targeting. So who are they targeting? Again, this is targeting migrants. There is just no doubt about it that this is a sample of a probable cause affidavit that we had in one of our cases. And if you can see what they say, so what we're seeing is DPS and Texas National Guard are setting up on private properties. In Valverde County, which is Del Rio, a lot of times they're setting up like very close to the riverbank. And by the way, Texas and federal law, since the COVID since the COVID crisis, there has not been a manner for asylum seekers to present themselves at a point of entry to request asylum. The borders have been closed, and they still are. So if you are an asylum seeker, you have no way to come to this country to seek asylum other than the manner that our clients are coming, okay? So in Valverde County cases, what we've seen is a lot of our clients will wade across the river, and we have DPS and Texas National Guard set up on these private properties. In many occasions, our clients will actually see law enforcement and believe them to be immigration officers, and they'll actually sometimes on their own initiative walk towards them. And it's only then that they walk, when the DPS is set up on these private properties, it's only then that they're arrested after they cross in. We've actually had other cases where they're beckoned or they're called over by law enforcement, or the flashlight is shined in their face and they're called over. And again, once they hit that private property, they get arrested for criminal trespass. We've also had cases where we've had many of our clients tell us that they were apprehended in one location and they were actually marched onto another location and then arrested for criminal trespass. And we've heard that from multiple people. So it's not just these isolated incidents, but as you can see, they're specifically targeting non-citizens. So this is what they say. Upon arrival, I observed the non-citizens being detained. Non-citizens were being detained on this ranch where they were located. The owner has provided an affidavit expressing the prohibition of anyone being on his property. And so this is what we're seeing. They're arresting people for criminal trespass. Once they're arrested, again, everything about this operation is just funneling into the separate system. So they're arrested for criminal trespass by Texas National Guard and DPS. Unlike anybody else in Texas, they're being arrested by National Guardsmen. So this is totally unprecedented. We've never used the Texas National Guard to arrest civilians ever. So this is totally unprecedented. It is like a huge militarization of the border. Like, they have thermoscopes, they have military grade vehicles, water vehicles, helicopter vehicles. They have it is just a total militarization of the border. So that's what our clients are facing as they come across the river. We've even had cases, actually, I'll get to that one, but this is what they're doing. So they're arresting them. They are then transporting them either to a parking lot in Kinney County. This is where they were initially kind of doing this. They would just get them in groups, put them in these vans, take them. This is an actual picture of a magistration, so a court proceeding. They would take them, put them in parking lots, magistrate them. And so they're either doing it in parking lots or they're being taken to a separate, not to the county jail where you would be taken if you were arrested for any other, regular offense, but you're being taken either to a parking lot or to the Valverde County Processing Center, which is a big tent outside the Valverde County Jail. And they're put in these horse trailers where they have these Zoom magistrates. So they're being put in these trailers and then shown a screen. And there are these retired judges that have been appointed by the Texas Supreme Court that will magistrate them and set a bond. The bonds are very high for these people that are charged with low-level misdemeanor, nonviolent criminal trespass. Most of our clients have never been arrested before. Most of our clients are very confused. They have no idea why they're being arrested. Most of our clients don't speak English. And so they're told in kind of broken Spanish, oh, you're just being arrested for Operation Lone Star. They're not explained, nothing is explained to them until we were able to actually finally meet with our clients and tell them what's going on. They believe, they believe wrongly that they were trying to approach an immigration officer to request asylum. And so once they're magistrated, either in the parking lot or these horse trailers, they're then put on another set of buses, these white buses, and they're transported 3 hours away to a TDCJ, so a Texas Department of Criminal Justice prison that has been repurposed into a pretrial detention facility. Again, totally unprecedented. We have never before used prisons to detain pretrial inmates, let alone low-level misdemeanor pretrial detainees. And that is because as a pretrial detainee, you are presumed innocent. You have a whole set of constitutional rights that you don't have if you're actually a convicted adult felony offender, which is what prisons are for. And so again, these are they're sent 3 hours away on buses to await trial in this, it's called Briscoe, which is a TDCJ unit that's been repurposed. And our clients uniformly report very poor conditions. I'm sure it's by design, but they are not fed adequately. They're fed terrible food. They're kept awake at all hours of the night. They're fed at 3 a.m. It's just, they've experienced a lot of racism, being called a lot of racist names by the guards. It's very, 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 the conditions are very harsh. And so they are made to wait in that prison. And that prison, by the way, became full, and they had to clear out another prison in Edinburgh called Segovia. And they've repurposed that one too. So we're seeing them just fill up these prisons with migrants who are arrested for nonviolent, low-level criminal misdemeanor trespass cases. So after that, so again, here, the issue, and really from the inception, when we first started handling these cases, this is like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Criminal trespass does not apply in these cases. And that is because it is not a crime to be on somebody's private property without their consent. The only thing that makes this a crime is if you had noticed that entry was forbidden, or if you received notice to depart but failed to do so. All of our clients, when we meet with them and ask them, did you know you were on private property? Every single one of them says no. And that is because our clients are being arrested, again, very close to the riverbank, or in Kinney County, a lot of times they'll there's a Union Pacific Railroad, which goes north. And so a lot of times our clients will kind of follow the train tracks north as a guide. And so they'll be arrested, but they're just walking in brush. We're not talking about them invading somebody's home or going through somebody's fence or anything like that. We're literally talking about guys just walking close to the river, walking through brush, trying to make their way north to either find an immigration officer or to reunite with their family, or obviously coming here to work and just try to have a better life for them and their families. And so again, it's not a crime unless you've been told, hey, leave this property or we're going to arrest you, or you had notice. And notice means, and this is a copy of the statute, one of the following. So it has to be, again, we're talking about ranch land where many times our clients, I would say I've had maybe a handful of clients say they saw a fence. Most of them, there's no fence. There's no trespassing signs, like nothing. They have no idea they're on private property, which means most of our clients are innocent. Most of our clients, there was no probable cause to actually arrest them, even if they were on private property. We have, like I said, many of our clients tell us that they were apprehended in one location, taken to another. We have reason to believe many of our clients are actually weren't even on private property to begin with. And if they were, they didn't have notice, which is what actually makes that a crime, what makes criminal trespass a crime. So again, many of our clients, if not all, lack probable cause even for the arrest. And again, this is what I was just talking about. They're either walking close to the river or they're close to it, the train, or some of our clients will get on the train that goes north, the Union Pacific train. They will actually get on the train. It's a train that's not a passenger train. It's a freight train. And ironically, this train is a train that transports Mexican beer, Cerveza and Modelo. I'm sorry, Corona and Modelo beer north. So this train, I mean, it's very dangerous, but a lot of our clients, many of our clients are very desperate. And so some of our clients will get on this train and they've been, because they have these like thermoscopes and they're able to like monitor with drones and helicopters and all this stuff. What will happen is they'll stop the train in King County, pull people off the train and charge them with criminal trespass. And again, some of our clients were not even on private property at all to begin with. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the notice issue because it's such a big issue in almost all of our clients' cases. And I had a hearing. So again, the notice provision is clearly intended to prevent an innocent a trespasser from incurring criminal liability. Just like if you walk in, you're cutting across the street and you walk through your neighbor's property and his front yard or whatnot, you're not going to get arrested for criminal trespass. Like the only people that get arrested for this are migrants. And again, cases are very clear that even if there are no trespassing signs, they have to be posted in a manner reasonably likely to come to the attention of an intruder. So like, for example, in many of our cases, there'll be like one no trespassing sign at the train station, for example. And that is not sufficient because our clients never saw that. And I can assure you our clients are not getting on in the train station. So, again, most of our clients, if not all, are actually innocent. And that is why most of our cases, when we first started doing this, were getting dismissed. Over 70% of the first several hundred cases that we handled were dismissed. And they were dismissed for various reasons. They were dismissed either because our clients were asylum seekers. And again, federal law authorizes them specifically that they can present themselves. It doesn't have to be at a port of entry. And of course, like I mentioned, there wasn't even an opportunity for them to present at a port of entry. But federal law specifically says that you can present at a port of entry or in any other manner. So most of our cases were getting dismissed initially because they were asylum seekers, because they lacked probable cause, or because of police or law enforcement misconduct. Again, we had a case, this one that was written about. There were 11 men who were in a vehicle that got stopped, and they fled from the vehicle, and they were arrested very close to the road. And once they were arrested, they were handcuffed 2 by 2 and marched to a ranch where they were forced to climb 2 by 2 over a 3-meter, kind of like a game ranch, like one of those large fences. They were forced to climb 3-meter fence 2 by 2 and drop to the other side. And law enforcement had a canine, a dog with them, and they couldn't get the canine over. So law enforcement actually cut through the fence to let the dog over. And, then they were arrested and picked up. And when we started to do our investigation, it actually panned out that is actually what happened. And so when I met with the prosecutor and high-level DPS officers, those people had their cases dismissed. But initially, almost all of our clients were being dismissed for various reasons. This is an example of notice that I had at a hearing that we litigated, where this is the Rio Grande River, and that purple post was what was supposed to give our client notice that he was on private property. And by the way, this picture was taken during the daytime, and my client had waded the river like at 1 a.m, and there's no artificial light there. So they said, oh, he should have seen this. This was his notice. And so just to show you an example of how ridiculous these cases are. Again, so all of our clients that are here seeking asylum have an affirmative defense to this criminal trespass charge. And that is because that's the federal statute right there. An alien who is physically present or who arrives in the United States, brought to the United States, let's see. This is the authority to apply for asylum. So as you can see, it does not have to be at a port of entry. And so it's an absolute affirmative defense to a criminal trespass case if you're here to request asylum. One of the issues that we're having is, again, we have clients that are coming to ask for asylum. They're prevented from requesting asylum because once our clients will come into contact with law enforcement, so it'll be either DPS or Texas National Guard, they ask them for asylum and are told, like in broken Spanish, like, no, we're just going to arrest you. And so what we've seen happen is that our clients, we have been able to still help them seek asylum, but it's not until after they've kind of gone through this OLS system. And by the system, what I mean is they're, arrested, they're transported, they are made to wait for months and months and months in these very harsh conditions, these very harsh prisons, until they get an OLS court date. And so once they get a court date, they're very frequently just offered a sentence of time served. So a lot of these clients, a lot of these cases, our clients are looking at like a maximum of 6 months in jail. And that's not even day for day. So the maximum would be in county jail, you get 2 for 1. So it'd be 3 months. Many of our clients have been in jail in these prison, it's a prison, it's not a jail, in a prison for more than 100 days, and they still do not have court dates. We have been engaged in massive litigation. We've had hundreds and hundreds of our clients released, thankfully. Initially, we had like a whole, we had a series of judges who were assigned by the presiding regional judge to hear these cases. And these were not like some liberal progressive judges. These were Republican judges, but they were real judges and they were following the rule of law. And in our litigation, we were able to get hundreds and hundreds of our clients released. Once they're released, we've been able to help them apply for asylum. So thankfully, most of our clients are still able to apply for asylum, but they have to spend this time kind of going through this OLS system. And here's another example I just wanted to show you of a person, one of our clients who had come across the river. He was an individual from Cuba, and he encountered DPS officer on private property. And our client told us that he wanted, he told the officer he was here to ask for asylum. And the officer said, no, you can't. You need to swim back to Mexico or we're going to arrest you for criminal trespass. And sure enough, I mean, he actually admitted it. He said both males were questioned if they had permission. Neither of the males knew the owner, nor did they have permission. We informed them if they came onto the property, they would be arrested. Both males were redirected to swim back to Mexico. So they made them, he was with another individual from Cuba. They made them swim back to Mexico. Once they went back to Mexico, they were confronted by people with machine guns. So they weren't sure if they were like cartel members. I mean, our clients are, once you get to the river, it is very much controlled by the cartel down there. Like there is just no, it's very dangerous, and they control who goes across, when they go across, like you have to pay the people. And anyway, so they got back and they were confronted and they got scared that they were going to be killed. So they came back across. And once they did that, they told them again, we're here to ask for asylum. And they got arrested for criminal trespass. So one of the issues that's very ironic is that this was an article that came out a couple of weeks ago that Greg Abbott's operation to arrest immigrants is actually helping some asylum seekers stay in the country. And what is happening? So under the Trump administration, there was a policy enacted, we call it T42. Really, it's a Title 42 public health exception. And what it says is that if you are apprehended at the border, you are we call them turnbacks. Like you're just turned back. So if you're apprehended by a federal border patrol agent trying to come into the country, you are just turned away. It doesn't matter if you have an asylum claim. It doesn't matter how good your asylum claim is. It really doesn't, nothing matters. All they're going to tell you is you go back to Mexico, and you have no opportunity to try to do any kind of asylum application or anything. And if you want to apply for asylum, MPP, which is the Remain in Mexico program, was recently reinstated. And so if you want to apply for asylum, you have to stay in Mexico, and that could be several years until you have your asylum claim actually adjudicated in the United States. And you have to remain in Mexico the whole time. So what's been a very ironic twist to this whole operation is that once our clients go through the Operation Lone Star system and are able, they then get released to ICE, which is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or Customs and Border Patrol, so CBP. Once they're there, and we link our clients up with immigration lawyers, we link them up with advocacy organizations, and we do a lot of know your rights presentations to our clients about what their rights are. If they want to request asylum, here's how they do it. So we spend the time that they're in by educating them. We give them a lot of materials. And so many of our clients, if not all, that want to stay in the country, ironically, have been able to stay once they get through the Operation Lone Star system. So what's happening is they're going into immigration custody. And while they're in custody there, if they request an asylum, if they say that they have a fear of return to their country, they're able to actually get an asylum claim pending or get a credible fear interview going. And once that happens, most of our clients are released back into the country. Most of our clients that want to stay have been able to stay. So it's a very ironic twist that had they been apprehended at the border by Border Patrol under the Biden administration, they would have been turned back and would never have been allowed to stay. So ironically, many of our clients, that have actually been T42'd previously, this was the only way that they've ever been actually able to request asylum. So many of our clients, ironically, are actually here in this country after they go through the system. And again, what we saw for the first several months, or the first 5 months of this program, is most, if not all, of our cases were getting dismissed. And that is because the cases just crumble when the rule of law is followed. Like there is just no, again, this was just a total political gimmick, a very expensive one and a very inhumane one, by the way, but it's not something that is legally sound. And again, if we have judges that are following the law, which this first group of judges were, most, if not all, of our cases were getting dismissed. What happened, however, so this was in December. So the judges that were initially appointed by the presiding judge were appointed to handle these cases for a year. So again, we would go before these judges on these special Operation Lone Star dockets. We would file all of the motions and litigation on behalf of our clients. And again, once we got to court, we were getting cases dismissed. We were getting clients released by the hundreds. What happened in December, however, is just very abruptly, this local judge, who is the same one, Judge Shahan, that wrote that letter about the illegal alien invasion back in April, fired, even though he was without authority to do so, he fired all of those judges and replaced them with judges. And what I mean by that, this was his letter. I don't know if y'all can see that. It's a little bit small, but what he did is he wrote this letter on December 8th. And these judges, the normal judges that were assigned to hear these cases, were retired judges. They were lawyers. They were judges that had been in El Paso and other small counties that had lots of experience and had been regularly handling these Operation Lone Star dockets. And so, and again, they were following the rule of law and were basically saying, like, there's nothing that you can, the prosecutor cannot continue to detain these people indefinitely. Like, You don't have, defective charging documents, like all the different things that we were doing. Fired all those judges and replaced them with hand-picked judges. And when I say judges, these are not even lawyers, okay? So under Texas statute, if you are a constitutional county judge in a small county, it's under a certain amount of number of population, you don't have to be a lawyer to be a constitutional county court of law judge. And so the judges that he then replaced them with are these people that are not lawyers. They're clearly friends of his. And the presiding judge, that was a quote, my guess is he's friends with these folks. He replaced these other, the real judges with these handpicked judges. And what we've seen since that has happened has just been, it's totally outrageous. This is an actual Zoom hearing that I was handling a couple of weeks ago. It is so awful what he's doing. This new tactic, detain, deny, delay. So what they do is, again, our clients are detained for months, some of them, without having a hearing. Once they get to these hearings, we were able to litigate issues and raise all the, we'd have writs of habeas corpus. We had all these other tactics that we were using that were getting our clients released, that were getting their cases dismissed. These new judges, for example, this guy, Judge Alan Amos, deny. So if you want to have a hearing, guess what? He's going to set your hearing off for another 2 months while your client waits in prison, denying bond, not letting them raise any of the constitutional issues. And sadly, what's happening now, we're in this phase where our clients are so desperate to get out of these harsh conditions that they are pleading guilty to crimes that they are not guilty of just to get out of prison. So that's what we're dealing with now. It's a very troubling situation, I have to say, because our clients, they're like, we're not guilty, but we just have to get out of here. They will do anything they can. And again, their tactics are working. So when we ask to be heard on a writ of habeas corpus, asked to be heard on our bond reduction hearings, these judges are telling us, oh, sure, we'll let you hear, we'll reset you to the end of January. That's what he told me on this December 14th date, which is why you see a group of our clients that were like, you know what, I'm not waiting till the end of January. I'm just going to plead guilty just to get out of prison. And that's what they're doing. So on the horizon, we've been cooperating with the Department of Justice. We're trying to push for an investigation by the Department of Justice. We have emergency appeals pending right now with the Fourth Court of Appeals. We have something at the Court of Criminal Appeals. We are also in the process of targeting different forums by trying to file these writs of habeas corpus in other places, not in Kenny County. We've also, Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid has also set up a bond fund where for our clients that don't want to plead guilty to a crime that they did not commit just to get out of prison, we've been able to pay bonds for lots of our clients just to get them out. And so that's kind of an overview of what's happening. Again, things are constantly changing. There's kind of a lot of moving pieces right now because again, we're having to try different tactics now because what they've done is, again, anytime we're going to be in a court that's going to follow the rule of law, we will prevail. But if we're stuck trying to handle these cases in these it's basically a little fiefdom that he's created where they're not following the law. They're not using real lawyer judges. They're just doing whatever they want and they think they can get away with it. So until we have these other courts and these other, the Department of Justice, I'm hoping, I've been, like I said, working closely with them. But again, right now it's a real troubling development, I have to say. And it should be a concern to everybody because if they're able to do this with this population, it's something that I foresee expanding, who knows where. It's one of those, it's like, as soon as you start watering down the criminal justice system, as soon as you start watering down constitutional protections for a group like this, it sets a very dangerous precedent and it's a very slippery slope. So anyway, I wanted to, that's kind of, I guess I've been talking for quite a while. I want to stop there. and see, you know, what questions you all have. There's also some other things I can show you if you're interested. But that's kind of what we're dealing with.
So folks, you know, the way we do the Q&A is just unmute yourself and ask the question, and then mute yourself and let Christian answer it. And we have like 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A before we end the meeting. So go ahead and ask away.
This is Louisa, and I just wanted to know what is your perception of how the Biden administration is responding to this situation?
So they've been very cautious. I wish they would take a more aggressive approach against this, because again, what I've been warning them since August is, you know, you're setting yourselves up. Like, if you don't nip this in the bud, it is going to spread like wildfire, right? So you're just going to end up having this like patchwork of Republican states trying to enforce immigration law. They're being very cautious and have not told us. Again, there was a large, the ACLU and several other organizations filed a Title VI complaint. I don't know if y'all saw that. I can send the link around to the complaint. It's a very lengthy complaint. And so the ball is in their court right now in terms of how they're going to respond, whether they actually are going to open up and do a formal investigation. Right now, they're investigating whether or not they're going to formally investigate. So, we wish the Biden administration would do more. I think they've just been I have not been pleased with how they've handled border issues. I think they've just been kind of hands off on immigration and head in the sand, kind of not wanting to deal with it. But again, it's like one of those issues where if you don't deal with it now, it's going to get out of control, and it is going to be much harder down the road. So if anybody has any contacts, I very much encourage you to reach out to your representatives, reach out to use the connections and contacts, to try to put pressure on, them to act. It's tricky because, again, similar to the abortion law, they're essentially using private citizens. This would not work but for the private property owners that have signed on to this operation and have actually signed these criminal trespass affidavits. And so, Texas would say, we're just enforcing state criminal law. We're not enforcing immigration law, And again, that's total subterfuge. It's total, we all know what they're doing, but they're just very tricky and sneaky about it, and very, using the criminal justice system to just, it's outrageous. But yeah, they haven't done anything yet to be succinct.
So would it be accurate to say that Kamala Harris's assignment to look at the border and the immigration situation, has there been no results?
None. And in fact, the end of November, AOC and Joaquin Castro and like 20 other people signed on a letter to the Department of Justice requesting an investigation. So, I mean, there have been calls for them to do this, but they just haven't. No, she hasn't done. There's been really no action at all.
Very disappointing.
Yes.
All right, who's next? Just raise your hand. Okay, Bob, go ahead.
Real quick. So when these folks are released, that you've gotten them out of criminal proceedings there, where did they go?
So what's happening to our clients once they're released through the OLS, once they're done with the OLS system. So our clients that want to return to their home countries are returned. So I would say most of our clients from Mexico go back to Mexico. Our clients from other places in the world, so we have a lot of clients from Venezuela, from Cuba, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador. We have clients from Haiti, from different parts of Africa. Those people mainly do not want to return to their country and have a fear of return. So if they express a fear of return to their country, they go into immigration, and they can either be detained in immigration, or they can be released on their own recognizance or with an alternative to detention, like an electronic monitor. Our clients usually in those cases have family members. So many of our clients are reunited with family members all over the country. I get texts from clients in Florida, New Jersey, New York, like they just are released pending their asylum claim. And they typically will go, and I would say almost, I've only had a handful of clients say that they did not come here to see family or to reunite with family. So most of our clients have family or friends that's why they come to the US with a plan of where they're going to go. Most all of these guys have a plan. And by the way, I say guys because they're only arresting adult males. They're not arresting females. If they encounter a female, they turn them over to Customs and Border Patrol immediately. They don't have the capacity, or maybe they don't have the political will, whatever it is. Maybe it's a combination of both of those to arrest females. So it's all males, adult males. And so they come with the plan. And so typically what will happen is they get released. They are then able to go to their, reunite with family while their asylum claim is pending. So again, we have clients that are all over the country that really would have never had that opportunity. Had they been apprehended at the border, they would have been expelled back under T-42. So again, very ironic, but we're happy about that. But they do have to go through a lot. But I can, the other thing I can tell you after meeting hundreds of our clients, they really could care less about this criminal trespass. So like the whole premise of this was that we're going to, instead of catch and release under Biden, Abbott has been like, we're going to catch and jail. Ironically, again, what's happening, it's really just a catch, jail, and process release. I mean, that's really what's happening. And I think that is something that could help to defeat this. I mean, my goal in 2022 is to end Operation Lone Star. It's only going to end if we are able to show what a futile, self-defeating program this is. And again, if their goal was to keep immigrants out, I'm telling you, it's not happening. Because people, again, my clients, many of them have been expelled multiple times, and it wasn't until they were arrested under Operation Lone Star, detained, and then able to apply for asylum were they actually able to apply for asylum. So, again, and so they're everywhere. The other issue is that if they do plead guilty to criminal trespass, that is not a bar to an asylum application. So that was the other stated intent by Governor Abbott and other public officials is, oh, we're just going to give them this criminal conviction, so it'll screw them for immigration purposes. It does not. It really has no impact. It doesn't have any impact on their immigration matter. It has no impact on employment, because I can assure you, especially with today's labor market shortage, employers don't care about a criminal trespass conviction. It really is like inconsequential. It's just a very expensive and inhumane processing. Like, I don't know how else to put it, but it's not only, inhumane and wrong to do what they're doing and illegal, but it's not working. I mean, our clients, again, had they not been arrested in this way, they couldn't have stayed in this country.
Good.
So it's ironic.
Two questions. Have you been in contact with the Beto campaign group?
I have a friend who has a close contact there, and they have like kind of tried to put me in touch with him, but no, I haven't been directly.
Because it would seem to be that this might be a kind of issue where he could point out that A, they're wasting money, and B, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But the other thing is, I wonder if the money is the real purpose in the operation.
Yeah.
Is there any way to be tracked? The amount of money that you talked about being appropriated, okay, sounded like to me it was way out of whack for putting together a few prisons and a few people.
It's a political ploy. It's a political ploy. He's trying to look like he's doing something.
Right.
So people think that he's actually doing something.
Right, but the real crime is in the money somewhere. So
absolutely. I mean, the private contractors that are banking on this, it's disgusting. Like, it is, these counties, I mean, everybody is like so like giddy with like trying to get, and it's out of control. It is just really it's a very ugly side of this, that people are, of course, like super motivated by all of this money, all of these private contractors, all, yes.
Okay. All
And
right,
the
we got
human-
Shankar and then Leslie and then Don, and we'll make Don the last questioner, okay? We're running out of time. So Shankar, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask also, all those prisons, are they privately owned and operated? Or
No, so the prisons are actually to Texas Department of Criminal Justice facilities.
okay,
But what we see, and I mean, I would have put it past them to start making, private prisons, right? But what we're seeing is a lot of private contractors that are involved. So there's one private contracting company called Retana Contracting, Retana, and I keep on seeing them like all over. Like they're in charge of transport, they're in charge of this. Like I don't know what Retana has gotten, but I know it's got to be a lot of money. So we're not seeing them with the private prisons yet, but we are seeing them doing a lot of other
Okay.
work.
Okay, Leslie, your turn.
Okay.
Maybe, maybe I
Is-
slept through this, but when did we stop just letting Cubans come into the United States the minute they touched our soil?
That was actually a change under the Obama administration. So that was the wet foot, dry foot policy. And my mom is actually a Cuban refugee. So she came before, or obviously a long time ago, but right, it used to be like if you could make it to land and touch your foot to dry land, you like were in. So that was changed under Obama. And I think it coincided with Fidel Castro leaving power and conditions bettering in Cuba. And so they still have very good asylum claims, but they don't have automatic right to stay in the country once they reach land.
All right, Don, your last question.
Yeah, isn't the use of the National Guard in this case, it seems to be illegal or not really clearly defined in their charter.
So in July is when this happened. The end of July, Governor Abbott had a news conference on the border, and he invited 10 governors from different Republican states. And he made his big announcement was that he was deputizing the Texas National Guard to arrest civilians. And so they had to make that, and it was he officially made that as deputization in the end of July. Prior to that, again, totally unprecedented. Prior to July, that was clear. It was, the posse comitatus or whatever that part of the Constitution that says like you cannot use military to arrest civilians. So, there's still a lot of questions and concerns over whether or not, but under this disaster declaration, it really suspends a lot of, or at least he believes it suspends a lot of these other kind of clearly established precedents, and that would be one of them. But no, he went out of his way to make a change at the end of July to allow that.
Okay. Hey, Kristen, can you quickly tell us how we can help? Whether does TRLA need donations, or can we volunteer to help with our time, or what can we do?
So I would say the best thing, we are accepting donations now for our bond fund, and we have a goal. We're not anywhere near the goal, but I can send a link to the. Let me put that in the chat. So we are taking donations for that. And then also here, it's an Act Blue, let's see. Kind of what we talked about, if you all have connections, whether it be, within state government, federal government, the Beto organization, I would just, I think, and also just really bringing awareness, like each of you try to tell like 10 other people about what's really going on. Because again, it is such, anybody that knows anything about what's actually, again, it's like very like soundbite, really nice soundbite, and they can show pictures of migrants being cuffed. And by the way, like, for example, if you go to Kenny County's website, let me just show you how disgusting this is. They have pictures. They like they put all of these pictures up of them like arresting migrants, like almost like trophies, like they put up pictures showing all the people that they apprehend. This is the Kinney County Sheriff's website. So they put up all these pictures of women and men. I mean, it's honestly disgusting. And then you can see their comments, like people liking this. And sometimes you'll see people say things like, oh, those look like deer to me, marching across game ranches. There's also this, I didn't even get a chance to talk about this, but there is a very heavy militia presence right now in Kinney County. And it's being like very much encouraged by the local government there. And so we see a lot of militia. There was a Wall Street Journal article that came out a couple of weeks ago about Patriots for America, basically just taking up in Kinney County. And Kinney County wanted to deputize 10 of the militia members, but 10 militia members to start apprehending migrants. Like they really think that they, again, this is like, they want their own little fiefdom where they can arrest, apprehend, do whatever they want, but it's disgusting. They have photos of all of these poor people that they arrest. And if you look at the comments, it's just honestly so sad. So I would say really just bringing awareness to the issue. Because again, if you were to just watch the news or read a little blip, but bringing awareness to other people, getting whatever channels you can to the, Biden administration, I don't know, and obviously vote, getting out to vote when, Abbott's up for re-election again. I would say those would be the most important things that we can all be doing right now.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you very much. Thank you. That was a wonderful presentation. And yeah, if you can send the presentation to me, I'll share it with
Oh, sure.
Yeah, with our members. And yeah, on behalf of the membership, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and kind of enlightening us on what we were hoping that with this new administration, things would be better for the migrants, but I don't know.
I know.
Is there no access that you can legally get into how the money is actually being distributed in Operation Lone Star? I know you've got enough problems with clients,
Yeah.
but I'm really thinking that if you wanted to shut down the political powerhouses that are behind the whole thing, if you could somehow get a link into how the money is being misspent, but
Oh, yeah.
not enough said. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can, as citizens, you guys can do public records requests and,
That's
Yeah.
already a major problem in Texas, so it
Yeah.
gets in line with about 1,000 other problems and
Yeah.
it doesn't get noticed.
All right, guys. Okay, Ruth.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
your
you.
patience with
Go
us.
ahead,
Appreciate it.
Mohammed, I'll go ahead and send the PowerPoint presentation and feel free to send it out to whoever you would like.
Please, thank you. Please,
So
thank you.
Okay, just
all.
don't leave yet. We got the door prize coming up. Ruth, you want to do it? Your thing? Okay, there we go.
I can't do it while I'm muted, right? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, the lucky winner of a gift certificate at Brazos Bookstore is Not My Dexterous Fingers. It's such a tiny piece of paper. Sorry, hold on, here we go. Deb
The first one
Hale. Is Deb still here? Nope. Do I draw
Ruth-
again? Deb Hale, she was here
Oh,
earlier.
she just left.
I got one other question for her, if she'd give us patience.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned the cartels. Are we really in danger of a Mexican government collapsing under the influence? You talked about they've lost control of their border, but are we really in danger of of actually facing a situation where we would not have a viable government on our southern border, or
I've
no?
not heard anything about that. I mean, I have a good friend who is from Mexico, and she says that Lopez Obrador, their current president, is terrible and super corrupt and is in total cahoots with the cartels. And she actually kind of likens him to Trump, which I thought was interesting. But, I don't know. I mean, I think Mexico's always been Mexico, right? Like, I don't know if it seems any worse or bad. I mean, I do know that our clients that are deported to Mexico, and this is a very well-known problem, but when they go through Nuevo Laredo, they are all kidnapped by the cartel and held for ransom. So you have to pay the coyotes money to come into the country, and then you have to pay them on your way out to get released. So, I mean, every single one of our clients gets kidnapped, and it's like, it's like very open. Like, there's nothing about, like, you literally get deported and they're there waiting for you, like right there in the open. They take you into custody and you have to wait until your family can pay money and pay the ransom.
Okay.
All right, thank you,
All right.
guys. Right,
Yep.
Ruth.
Go again.
Yeah,
Okay.
go again.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and send the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Hi, Kristen, you may be the winner. Just
Maybe.
give us 1 minute.
Oh, okay.
Bob Handy.
Oh
Wow.
my God.
Congratulations. And I guess, Mohammed, you will be in
Yeah,
touch with him
Bob,
about making arrangements.
Bob, I'll give you a call and let you know how to take care of this, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Congratulations.
All right, congratulations, and
The
Kristen,
most
thank
fun
you
I've
very
had
much.
all day.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Take
everybody.
care.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Kristen.
Thank you all.
Thank you.